Hello and welcome to Digital Nation. It's that time of the week where we bring you some of the most eye-catching stories from the UK's local TV channels. In this edition, we visit Glasgow to find out how wildlife cope with the traditional Scottish winter. We do some gymnastics in Liverpool. And we find out what happens in Leeds when we try on some second-hand wedding dresses. And as ever, you can talk to us using the hashtag #DigitalNation. First up this week, we're paying a visit to Southampton, where we're meeting a lucky newborn baby and her brave mum, who's recovering after an extremely eventful birth. Now, if you're expecting, or maybe if you're not, some of this isn't for the faint-hearted.
This little bundle of joy is baby Gabrielle, just 5 days old and blissfully unaware of the drama that surrounded her birth. For mum Megan though, her daughter's birth is an event that she will never forget, but not for the reasons you might think.
I woke up about 5:30 with my son. He asked for juice and I got up with him about 5:45 in the end. When I got up to make the juice, I had the first contraction. And after having the first contraction, I had another couple of contractions, but they weren't regular. They were quite irregular. So again, I just brushed it off thinking it was a bit of wind. I ran myself a bath to try and settle the pain, and it started crowning. So I got out of the bath to find, obviously I was about to have this baby on the toilet. So the baby ended up coming. She went head first down the toilet. I took her out, cleared her airways, put her in a towel and rung the ambulance then, because I could do that, because I could get my phone then. But all this was going on whilst I was talking to Oscar on the baby monitor, who was in the other room. I was saying things like, "It's okay, baby, like, it's a bit early, it's not morning yet, you go back to sleep, you go night-night." You know, just trying to soothe him, trying to comfort him, trying to like keep him oblivious to what was going on in here. When the paramedics turned up, they were lost for one. I had to go down and guide them a little bit.
But what about when this little water baby is all grown up? Will her mum tell her the real story behind her birthday?
She will find out when she's older. I will tell her. I plan on writing it all out in my own words as well, so she's got something to look back on, and obviously there'll be the articles and stuff too, which she'll be able to look at.
It's Bristol next, where the family and friends of a talented young boxer who died tragically in a motorcycle accident have been campaigning to have publicly accessible defibrillators installed around the community. Inspiring work by his family and a fitting tribute to Conor.
Conor was 16 when he died after falling off his moped with his helmet left undone. But instead of letting their grief get the better of them, they're bettering the world around them. Today, they're installing the first of a brand new defibrillator in Bristol, which could save thousands of lives.
The reason we're here today is we're putting an AED outside Broad Plain boxing gym where Conor used to box before he lost his life with a motorbike accident for not clipping his helmet up. So the reason we're doing this is because every year we campaign to raise awareness for Clip Up for Conor, and this year we decided to do something different. Generally, years gone by, we've given money to charities like Children's Trust, Headway and Break, and this year we decided to put AEDs out into the community where Conor grew up.
These new defibrillators were installed in areas close to Conor's home and heart.
I knew Conor very well. He came here and was training to box, and sadly he passed before he could box, but he was due to box that season, all ready to go. A dedicated young man, lovely to chat to. One of those that if he came in, he would always put in 100%, and never had to ask him to do it. He could do it. He was a lovely chap.
We're just trying to make his memory live on and make sure that no one goes through the pain that we as a family did.
Anybody that has an ambulance called for them, there will be a triage in place, and they'll have questions from our 999 call handlers, and we establish that somebody's unconscious and not breathing normally, cardiac arrest. They will send them to the nearest public access defibrillator. The device will actually talk them through what to do step by step, nice and clearly and calmly.
So it looks like this family have managed to turn a negative into a positive.
to London now, where we're stepping inside the world of virtual reality and meeting a group of artists who are using an app to design some quirky creations. Get those headsets ready.
You put on the headset and there's a soundtrack, and you are standing on a platform in the sky above the clouds with a series of these objects in chrome floating around you, and you're able to graffiti them in a multicoloured spray paint. This sculpture was I sculpted in an app called Codon, which allows you to kind of receive these blocks of material and sculpt inside the app, and then we sent that to a company to kind of CNC cut it, cut the form out of a kind of polystyrene. In a way, I sculpted this initially in a digital space, and then we found a way to extract that and make it a physical thing.
I do drawings in a sort of cartoonish, caricaturish style, so my initial draw was to try and use the HTC Vive to make a version of that which would explore some other possibilities beyond my usual means of production. So that was the beginning, was making that small model, and then my experience that I'm presenting as part of the project is to put that in a context, so that came afterwards. So I designed my little guy and then designed a bizarre church-like venue to put him in. So exploring the fact that you can make things any size. So I was working on the model in a small scale, and then I'm able to present it enormous in an even bigger, huge venue.
Well, it's over to Belfast now for an unexpected story of slavery. The slave trade was abolished in Britain in 1807 with the Slave Trade Act, famously spearheaded by abolitionist William Wilberforce. But before then, the slave trade was active all across the British Empire, even here in the UK.
One day in 1739, the people of Donaghadee got caught up in a whole commotion. Everybody's saying, what's going on, what's going on? And it was some strange men were seen about the town, clearly distressed, couldn't speak English. So they decided that they would have to have a proper hearing. And they made inquiries about people who spoke various languages, and they finally got someone who spoke Gaelic. And out came a story that was horrendous to everybody that heard it. These men, and they were men, told that they were part of a group of 100 Hebridean islanders who had been just knocked on the head or tempted on board a boat and then got put down in the hold of the boat. What they didn't know was the captain of the ship, the Donaghadee man, had been given a contract, or had sought the contract maybe, to carry slaves from Scotland or from anywhere to America, and he'd get paid. The courts said, you are totally free to go to all these prisoners, about 100 of them. You're free to go out of this court and make your way home. There is evidence that maybe some of these Mackays, because I know a lot of them were Mackay, there is evidence that they maybe did stay. Donaghadee churchyard most certainly has graves with dates that are suitable to mark the death of some Mackays that are 30, 40 years later, who could well have been young men and women who had been taken from their farms and families in 1739.
Oxford now, where carpenters have been working hard to refurbish the lock gates from the River Thames. Kingslock lies to the north of Oxford, and it takes a lot of maintenance work to keep the gates in top condition and to let boaters carry on enjoying life on the water.
In early November, we saw lock gates from Kingslock pulled from the water for refurbishment. Now the locks are undergoing work at the Environment Agency's Osney depot as part of their winter maintenance programme.
Those gates have been in for many, many years. They need to be taken out, inspected, and parts of them replaced. So the carpenters downstairs have been with us for decades, very experienced in doing the work they're doing. They're replacing the elements of the gates that need to be replaced, getting them ready to go back in the early new year, so the river is back open again for the boating community before Easter.
The carpenters working on the locks have been there for 30 years and have maintained all the locks in Oxfordshire.
They were replacing some of the metalwork which goes on the gate, so we have collar straps. So these are things which hold the gate in place. So when the hydraulic arm is closing the gate, it does put stress on the gates. So we have ironwork that goes on there which keeps everything nice and tight, so that we don't get problems when the gates go back in again. So they'll be doing works on that, also on the sluice gates, because when the lock gate is closed, we then have to let water go through the gate by opening sluice gates within the lock gate itself. That then allows the lock to fill, and then once the lock's full, the gates can then open. So there's a lot of iron work and timber guide rails and things like that need to be checked, and if they need to be replaced, then they get replaced. It's very important that our weirs are in good working condition, because if we need to be opening those, sometimes at relatively short notice, if we have quite a lot of rainfall coming through, we need to be able to manage the levels on the River Thames, to a high degree of accuracy, so that, as well as for the boating community, it also reduces the risk of flooding to the communities that live alongside the River Thames.
The next lock refurbishments will take place at Shiffords Lock.
Well, that brings us to the end of part 1. But before the break, it is time for our weekly quiz. So, in which English city were the first films said to be made by the Frenchman Louis Le Prince? Is it A, Manchester, B, Leeds, or C, Birmingham? Join us to find out the answer after the break. Hello and welcome back to Digital Nation. Now, before the break, we asked you, in which English city were the first films said to be made by the Frenchman Louis Le Prince? It was, of course, B, Leeds. In 1888, Louis shot a series of moving images in Roundhay Park. They are the oldest surviving movies in the world. We're heading to Glasgow now. Now, Scotland's winters can get very cold, but with changing weather patterns these days, adapting is proving a challenge for wildlife all over the country. So, how do these little critters in the woods cope with the unpredictable temperatures?
As you can see from the weather outside, we are very much in the middle of winter. But while we can head indoors and keep nice and cosy, the wildlife of Scotland don't have that luxury. So today I've come along to Hesslehead Wildlife Rescue and I've come to meet our resident wildlife expert, Hayley Douglas. Now, Hayley, I just want to know, how do Scotland's wildlife cope in these weather conditions?
Well, they've all got different mechanisms, whether it's a hedgehog going into hibernation or a squirrel storing food. But the problem we've had at the moment, though, is it's actually stayed quite mild.
Would they prefer colder conditions then?
Some of them would. Things like the hedgehogs, they want to go into hibernation when it's cold, and we've had a cold spell and then it's gotten really mild again, and it's actually woke the hedgehogs up.
So should we go and see if the weather's affected the patients that they've got in Hesslehead?
Yeah, sure, let's go.
Let's go for it. So Hayley, how do Scottish wildlife escape the horrible weather conditions?
Well, a lot of them, you know, things like badgers and foxes, they've got dens under the ground. The hedgehogs will build nests, same with the squirrels.
The weather is horrible outside. How is that affecting your patients here at Hesslehead?
Well, hedgehogs in particular are having a hard time. They're getting very confused with the weather patterns in recent years, and a lot of hedgehogs are being born so late in the year that they just don't have enough time to put on the weight they need for hibernation.
Everyone at this time of year starts to look forward to a bit of time off, but there's no such thing as time off for you here at Hesslehead.
You're joining me now in Leeds. Yes, I went to the city's historic Kirkgate Market, recently home to a wedding fair, but with a difference. Full of wedding dresses that had already held one previous bride, visitors were encouraged to try on the pre-loved gowns, which could bring a bit of glamour without breaking the bank. If you look just behind me afar, you can just see kind of, because loads of people are gathered around because there's a bridal market fair happening right now, and we just saw some of the ladies come out in their wedding dresses, and it's absolutely beautiful. And there's something about this that is really, really special, and it's here at the market. It's because the dresses that people are trying on, the models just over there, are dresses that have already been worn on wedding days, and women can come in, newly kind of engaged women can come in and try them on, and maybe they'll find the perfect dress for their wedding day.
Soon we commencing with our catwalk show and our live photo shoot. So please enjoy the show. Thank you. We're looking for something dumb to do. Hey baby, I think I wanna marry you.
Why do you want to do something like this?
Well, we always thought that when people get married it's so expensive, but then what happens to your stuff after you got married? So we were like, why not sell it at a bridal market? So we decided to have a wedding fair where we could mix amongst the exhibitors. We'd have pre-love sellers as well, and then people can buy and sell to each other, and it'll save people thousands.
Have you met a lot of couples today who are kind of thinking of getting married in 2017? What's their reaction been like for something like the wedding fair?
Oh, I think they absolutely love it. They say this is a dream come true. They said they've spent ages scouring charity shops for bits and pieces here and there. They come here, they can get everything in one place.
Too big? Maybe keep it, you know, big-ish?
Bigger the better.
Bigger the better, apparently.
Bigger the better.
Who do you think created the first smoke detector? Let's go to Creative Kingdom to find out.
We're all grateful for the addition of the fire detector in our domestic lives, most of the time. But who do we have to thank for bringing those incessant little beeps into our households? Take a bow, Birmingham, and an electrical engineer called George Andrew Darby in particular. In 1902, he patented the electrical heat detector and fire alarm, a huge contraption which indicated an increase in temperature by closing an electrical circuit to sound an alarm when the room got too hot. How did he do this? By fixing a block of butter between two plates, which sounded the alarm when it melted. Proof once again that when it comes to creativity, innovation and avoiding an even bigger meltdown, in Birmingham Mint.
To Liverpool now, and we're joining a group of Sefton youngsters in their gymnastics class. Now, Team Gym gymnasts finished the Rio Olympic Games with 7 medals across all 3 gymnastic disciplines represented, making it the country's most successful games to date. And who knows, one of these athletes could be our next Olympic hero or heroine.
Children under 8 are learning new abilities, including balance, coordination, self-confidence and dedication at the Crosby Leisure Centre. Organisers say the course is being run to keep up with demand as current Sefton gymnastics classes are oversubscribed. There's also the dream of seeing Sefton gymnasts on the Olympic stage.
Okay, so there are exit routes once they've participated in programmes like this to join local clubs that then can progress them further if they're wanting to compete in competitions and take the sport to the next level, such as our very own Olympian Dan Purvis has done. We've got huge waiting lists at the clubs in the area and some of the private providers of gymnastics, so we've been responding to the need of parents inquiring about gymnastics for their children.
Many parents say it's important to have local classes that get children active, and the kids are enjoying it.
Bailey's really good at gymnastics at home, so she's always so we've been looking for a local class for quite some time, so when this came up we thought it would be perfect, local to home and things.
We're a very active borough, but we're always trying to make sure there's a wealth of opportunities for children to take part in the kind of activities they want to take part in. Not everyone wants to play football.
Well, she usually does swim another Monday, usually this same session, so yeah, she enjoys it. So it's nice to be able to get them away from the iPads once in a while and do something. And she enjoys it as well, don't you, Bailey?
Yeah. It feels better than just sitting in front of the TV and watching TV.
Time to head to West Bromwich, where Made in Birmingham have been finding out how the local area is being regenerated. The football team these days is riding high in the Premiership, but it's not just on the pitch where West Bromwich is on the up.
There's a bit of a buzz around these parts at the moment. With its football team riding high in the Premier League and the regeneration of the area, there's plenty to smile about in West Bromwich. After the announcement that 14 garden villages are set for development around the UK, the Black Country is already a step ahead, with several housing regeneration projects in full swing. And in West Bromwich, most of the works have already been completed.
It's really important that we raise our game. When we build new homes, they've got to be really high quality homes.
The project is as a result of mixed funding from both grants and accords. The new homes near the High Street are a stone's throw away from Sandwell College, which has also seen a makeover following its multi-million-pound revamp, and Alan believes it's an exciting time to be living in West Bromwich.
I think that what's been going on in West Bromwich in the last 5 years has been really significant. As you mentioned, there's the college, there's the shopping centre, lots of housing development both on this side of West Bromwich and on the Ling Estate. And I'd say if anyone hasn't been to West Brom for a while, come and have a look, because it's really quite significant. We've got really good transport links with the metro station and so on.
It's no secret that the West Midlands has one of the fastest growing economies anywhere in the UK. More housing regeneration works are underway in Birmingham, Wolverhampton and Walsall. And in a time when there's an air of uncertainty in this country, in this region at least, there is reason to be optimistic.
Next up, it's Edinburgh and a ride across the Forth Bridge. It's an iconic structure, a Scottish symbol, and even a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But there are some interesting stories and some interesting sights that can be observed across the bridge on any given day.
I first started as a temporary toll collector, just in between jobs, thought I would do this temporarily. And I've been here ever since.
Did you ever get any funny stories, or like you must have seen people coming back for Halloween parties, driving through the tolls, or did you ever get? You must have had a good laugh.
You'd start off the first part of your shift, and say the southbound, so you get them coming that way, then you get them coming back about 2 o'clock in the morning. And you used to get a guy who used to ferry strippers. And it used to be 40 pence at that time.
40 pence to get across the bridge?
And he come through my toll one time and he goes, 40 pence or a flash?
40 pence sounds like a good deal. And the tolls haven't been here for quite a while, but I mean, does the traffic flow, has it been flowing better since?
The biggest problem now is we can't control the traffic as well as what we used to do when the tolls were here. Because we always had control of the northbound tolls, so we could hold the traffic at any time. We have traffic lights now, but it's not the same, eh?
Yeah. What's an average day like for you here?
Basically watching out for breakdowns. We get lookouts from the police for missing people or something like that.
Some fascinating facts as well. I mean, I remember being told that it moves something like 10 metres a day?
If you watch, you can see that it goes like this. And strong winds, moves a lot. Moves a lot more than you think. If you stop on the bridge for any reason, you'll feel it move.
It's a whole community here, isn't it?
Oh, aye. You always think of it as being your own bridge, basically, when you're coming here or when I pass it. And you can't, if I'm driving across the bridge on my days off, I still look at the footpaths to see if there's anybody that shouldn't be there, just out of habit.
And that's it for this week's show. Thank you for joining us, and don't forget you can catch up on previous episodes on the BBC website. That's bbc.co.uk/digitalnation, or maybe log on to your own local TV channel's website. So until next time, goodbye.